Well, I'm sure you lot see the title of the video, and I'm back. Another video and episode of Is This The Move? And the guy we're going to be talking about today is Bogdan Bogdanovic. Interesting name, you know what I'm trying to say, but hear me out. I feel like he'll be a great piece to add to this team. Obviously, like a couple weeks back, I did a video on Dejounte Murray. So I believe that if we were to acquire Bogdanovic, if it's possible, it would be a joint deal which includes Dejounte Murray as well. But he's definitely a guy I would try to include in a package if Dejounte was involved. I'm going to say this for free. It's not going to be a cheap one. You're going to have to pay a steep price because they're both two quality starting players, and Dejounte Murray was an all-star a couple years ago, so it's not going to be cheap. But hey, it's one of those ones which you just got to do. Obviously, Dejounte had that cameo against us a couple days ago where he went absolutely berserk. He had 25, but the array of tough shots this guy was making was ridiculous. And I feel like you can't judge a player off one game because, cool, it was just one good game, all right game, okay. But what it should amplify is if you really watch the game, it shows the reason why Dejounte Murray isn't allowed to be him. And your concern should be blatant. Dejounte Murray is having to what? Make shots out of nothing towards the end of a shot clock, get his buckets in transition, be almost strictly a catch and shoot player because Trae Young's fraudulent self is busy dribbling out the shot clock, then trying to foul bait and just do that rubbish he does, like that stupid lean into Tyrese Maxey. I ain't going to talk about Trae Young. He's not being allowed to play. And for all of you guys who will say, oh, well, he's going to be playing next to Tyrese Maxey. Well, our offense isn't like Atlanta's. We don't run ISO ball. The closest thing we do is when Joel gets the ball at the elbow, couple jab steps and shoots and pulls up. That's not really an isolation, though. Well, it kind of is, but it's not like wasting the entire shot clock. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So offense is nothing like the Hawks. If Dejounte was here, that is strictly going to mean Tyrese has more ways to be a dynamic scorer. He's still going to be on the ball a large majority of the time, but there's also those times where he's getting doubled, tripled, and overall just blitzed or screens where he can handle the ball to give the ball to Dejounte, and Dejounte can make something happen, whether it's for himself or overall just facilitate for others. But back to Bogdan Bogdanovic. Now, what does he give you? He's just a sniper. He's one of those guys who's going to give you high volume 3-point shooting, and he's not afraid to pull the trigger. And that's something we've definitely lacked for a while. I feel like when it comes to shooters in this league, or shooters that we've had, they're either wildly inconsistent or they just for some reason come here and their attempts go significantly down. Seth Curry was a sniper, but he wasn't really taking enough threes for him to be as effective as we want him to be. So a guy like Bogdan will be perfect. And if I'm being honest, it's going to take a bit. If you look at the Hawks situation right now, you have a chance to get two guys off the book straight away because Tobias is an expiring contract. Tobias will probably fit next to Trae Young quite well. You know, it's not going to just be the stat. It's probably going to have to be Tobias Harris, a guy like Dejounte Murray, and the 2 first-round picks. I'm really sorry, guys, to say, I don't want to pay that. I can't lie, there's even a chance the Hawks don't even entertain that offer, but for you to get pieces like that, you're going to have to pay a price. I feel like when I see these mock trades on Sixers Twitter, you guys don't think, why would the other team accept this? They're not going to accept Tobias Harris and a load of shit for 2 quality players. It's not how the league works. It's not what's going to happen. They're not trying to help us. So even that deal might not be enough, but those first-round picks are definitely tempting. And if they're really trying to build around Trae Young, Dejounte don't fit, you get a very valuable first-round pick, you go into the offseason with cap space, that's a good way for them, in my opinion, why they probably consider the trade. But as a whole, I feel like you get a guy in Bogdan Bogdanovic who could not only just be a spot-up shooter, he has some self-creation as well. He's not just a cone who can sit in the corner and only shoot. He's a guy that can make some stuff happen off the dribble, definitely has some 3-level creation. And we saw him lead this national team this year to the FIBA World Cup final. Even though they lost to Germany, I know it's not really relevant. He's a guy that can lead his team. That's a Serbia team that was very, very undermanned. And he stepped up to the plate. So he's a guy who I believe has been and can be a big game performer. We know about Bogdan very well because in those playoff series, he was the guy who came in clutch, hitting big threes. I'll still never forget that 3 hit. It was in game 1 or 2 in the 2021 series and he shushed the crowd. Pissed me off, but he's a guy that you can definitely rely on to be a shooter, and he's a guy who provides you another element to this team which you arguably need. I see it this way. Cool. For those of you who hypothetically say, oh, I don't want to lose Dejounte Melton. Well, if you get Bogdanovic, you're basically getting Dejounte Melton shooting replaced, but higher volume, and I would argue more consistent. You also add more self-creation in that aspect. And cool, Dejounte Murray is a better defender. But if you get Dejounte Murray as well, Dejounte Murray picks up for that defense. And for those of you who want to point out, oh, Dejounte's defensive rating is blah, 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 blah. Every single team Trae Young has been on has been a poor defense. It doesn't matter who's been next to him. It doesn't matter who the coach is, whether it's Quinn Snyder, whether it's what's my man's name? Lloyd Pierce. The team has always been terrible defensively. So you can't blame Dejounte Murray for being in a poor defensive system. Not really to do with the coaches, but playing with Trae Young, there's only so much you can do. And I admit, there's certain times where, cool, he could have given more effort. He could have, you know what I mean, just overall be more committed on that side of the floor, which is a negative. But then again, under Nick Nurse, that's going to change because he has the intangibles to be an all-NBA defender because he's been that before. And for those of you saying, oh, he's this, is that, according to Shams or Sam Amick, the Spurs are reportedly interested in Dejounte Murray. So if it was really that bad with how strict that organization was, they would not be interested in reacquiring Dejounte Murray. Trust me, you don't lose stuff like that. He's 25, 26 years old. You don't lose that defensive ability. Bring him on this team right now and you'll see how good of a defender he is. Kelly Oubre is a guy who was always considered an average to below average defender. In Philly, he's been arguably one of our best, most switchable wing defenders. You get what I'm trying to say? So these advanced defensive stats, take it at face value and instead watch the games and apply it to the context of who they're playing with and the type of roster and system they're playing within. But as a whole, I feel like those two guys would be great additions to this team. And Bogdan as a whole is a guy who I really would love for this team to have. You get what I'm trying to say? Because fuck percentages, I'm not even looking at that. For me, the guy who's really been bailing us out at end of possession has been Kelly Oubre. I'm not going to lie. Whether he's hitting stupidly contested threes or cutting, he's been like that. But you add a guy like Bogdanovic, he can do that as well. You know, before we had Kelly Oubre, our kind of end of shot clock prayer guy was Danny Green. Having multiple of those guys who can just knock down tough shots and make something out of nothing is definitely a valuable asset to have because it's the NBA. There's going to be broken down possessions. There's going to be possessions that don't ideally go as they've been drawn up. But if you have guys who can create something out of nothing, that's how you get them extra 3, 5, 6, 8, 12 points at the end of the regulation, which could help you to win by 1 or 2 points. They add up. So those are the type of guys I feel like we need to definitely go for. And again, guys who have playoff experience, you know, especially with Dejounte, maybe not so much with the Spurs going on deep playoff runs because we're in a well-structured organization. Bogdanovic has literally been to the Eastern Conference Finals further than any of our players have been. Well, I've been on the roster since, you know, I'm not talking about other guys like, you know what I'm trying to say. But that's the type of guys we need to add, in my opinion. I feel like that'd be a great addition. But in the comment section down below, let me know what you might think about the mixture of Bogdan Bogdanovic and Dejounte Murray. Whether you feel like they'll be welcomed additions, whether you're like, I'm not too sure. And what's the package you feel like we'd have to give up? And is this even realistic? Do you feel like the Hawks would even accept that? You know, the Hawks might even be more willing to include a guy like DeAndre Hunter in this deal instead. Which I don't mind DeAndre Hunter either, but I feel that Bogdanovic should definitely be a great piece to add. But like I said, let me know in the comment section below what you might think. All of that stuff there. Let me know what videos you want to see next. You know what I'm trying to say. But thank you guys so much for listening. Stay blessed, my people. And I'm out. Peace.